Hey guys, welcome to RC Video Reviews. Big day, huh? EdgeTX Drop Companion. How cool is that? Very cool stuff. This is a big day. Everybody's been waiting for this one because it's kind of like the one big tool that I think kind of above anything else separates OpenTX from all the other platforms out there. So Companion, now that it's working with EdgeTX, is just a fantastic outcome. I've seen some discussion already, you guys poking around, getting ahead of the schedule here, and that's why you can't download stuff, because you didn't wait for the class. That's what's going on, Elias. I'm looking at you, buddy. Posting that 404 error. We're going to get you through that, though. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to take care of you guys. All right. I'm going to say hello to everyone real quick. Drew Graham, hello. Dragon Killer, how you doing? 1LN, hello. Drone Pilot is all excited about Companion. I know he is. TMC 3D, how you doing? Stefan Cristofero, hello, waiting patiently. Stephen Mann, hello. I got you already. Keitel Small, hi. Brian Ramsey, hello, how are you? Hardy, Jeffries, and Philip. Philip Yang from Australia. Got a couple Aussies in the house. Representing. Kay Anthony from Great Britain is here as well. Four Eyes, hello. Our Canadian Robert, living on the edge. Living, cheater, a lie. See, he cheats. He gets ahead. He reads ahead. He's trying to get ahead. I'll give you the little tip. If you guys want to go ahead and play, log into GitHub and then it'll download. You got to be logged in. I tried logging in without, I tried downloading without logging in and it didn't work. I got a 404 error. As soon as I logged in, it popped right up and it came down and no problem. And if for whatever reason it continues to be an issue, I will make sure that we get another link. But I can tell you that after logging into GitHub, it was no problem. All right, so we have a few things that we're going to talk about first. I'm going to give you guys the up and down because I don't want to have people get themselves in trouble. That's the main thing we have to care for, is we want to make sure that you don't get in trouble during this migration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up another screen. We're going to go to the Blackboard. So there's the Blackboard, and we're going to cover transition notes first. All right, the first thing I want to cover is back up your SD card, okay? Don't do stuff here without backing up your SD card, because if you do and you say, Edge broke my stuff, I lost all my widgets, I lost all my pages, I can't recover it, it's all gone now, we're just going to delete your comment. We're going to delete you and punish you, and we're going to chastise you and laugh at you and call you funny tourist names in Discord because you didn't back up your stuff. It's real easy. If you back up your stuff, you can do whatever you want. You can delete, you can erase, you can write over, it doesn't matter. If you back it up somewhere safe where you can get to it, you can get it back. It's very easy to get it back. But if you don't back it up and then you do the migration and you say, oh, I lost all my widgets, what the hell? That's your fault, okay? Plain and simple, that's your fault. You've been warned. Back up your stuff. Because while you monkey around with this, you may say, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm not there yet. I'm not ready yet. And that's fine. If you're not ready, or something doesn't work for you, you don't like it, or if there's a bug you can't live with, then if you back up your stuff, you can easily go backwards. It's no problem. So I'm telling you guys, back up your stuff. I'm seriously will legitimately delete comments about, well, I can't do it now because I didn't back up my. I don't want to hear it. You got to back up your stuff. Got to back it up. I don't know how many times I can say that. I've said it enough. We'll move on. All right. Companion is a nightly until 2.5. So right now it's in the nightly. What that should tell you, let's talk about nightly a little bit, because we had a thing on Discord last night. One of the guys came in, he said, hey, my Express LRS module doesn't work. And it turned out he was on a nightly and they were tinkering with the baud rate on the module, and it made it so the thing couldn't communicate with the Express LRS module. If you're on nightlies, you have to understand nightlies is a place for developers to tinker and experiment and test things. So when you're using a nightly, you may see some bugs, okay? I'm just telling you, you might see some bugs. You cannot expect things in a nightly status to be production ready. That's why they have mainline releases. So Companion is nightly until 2.5. Understand that. Now, that's not to say most of the functionality won't be there. It probably will be just fine, but you may run into stuff. And if you run into stuff, that's not an opportunity for you to criticize the project, right? Because we're telling you right now, it's nightly. If you're in nightly, that's not production. That means they're testing still. When it's made a mainline release, 2.5, 2.6, that's what they consider to be production ready. That's not to say it won't have some issues, but that's what they consider to be a level set production ready, okay? So understand that Companion right now is nightly until 2.5. You may break your sounds. If you transition your radio model settings over to Edge and use the EdgeTX sound pack, your sounds may break. Understand that. If you use an Amber, you may lose some, they may rename some, your sounds may break, okay? Widgets are going to be lost. You will lose your widgets. Right now, I have not found a way around that. No matter what transition method I've tried, widgets are gone. And in most cases, your pages are gone. And in the case of using Companion to transition, you lose all your pages, including your first one. So understand that too. When you do, I'll show you guys how this works, but when you do a copy, be it by SD card to SD card, you will at least keep the main page. It seems like when you do a copy and boot up the radio, it will create the main page for you, but all your widgets will be gone. If you use Companion to do a transition of your models, all of your pages are gone, including the first one. And when I first did it, I thought, oh boy, that's a bug. But it's not. It's just that you have to create a page. And I'll show you that. I'll show you what's going on there. But understand that your pages are going to be lost. All of your widgets are going to be lost. Okay, you have to embrace the horror. It'll be over. But once you do the migration and you reestablish your widgets, then you'll have the ability in Companion to preserve them. You should not have any problems from that point forward. Although, to be fair, I haven't tested that yet. Maybe we'll try and see if we can get to that tonight. All right, timers might be lost as well. That's one thing I didn't get a chance to get to before I did the video, but I wanted to make sure that you understood you might lose your timers. It's possible. A rebind will be required unless one way around that is if you actually switch over your... Oh, wait, you know what? Hold on a second. I got to backpedal on that. I'm using two different radios to test. If you're using the same radio, you might not have to rebind, but be prepared. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Make sure your bind works. I've been using two different radios, so of course my bind breaks. If you're using the same radio, you may be able to keep your bind. You might not have to be able to bind. Might not have to rebind, rather. YAML is not yet implemented. That will come in 2.6. I know we're all looking forward to that. I know they've started to do some work on YAML, but just keep that in mind that YAML has not been implemented and it will not be in Companion until 2.6. Okay, next thing, let's talk about the migration process. There's two things I'm going to show you tonight. I'm going to show you how to do a model copy using EdgeTX Companion. We're going to read from one and write to the other, okay? I'm going to show you how that works and what to expect if you decide to go through with this. And then I'm going to show you the manual copy method as well, just in case you want to do the manual method. And honestly, the manual method probably, if you're savvy, you know, if you don't mind moving stuff around on your computer, manual method's probably the way to go. And the reason that you want to use the manual method is because you don't have to create the first page. If you do OpenTX, faux pas. If you want to use EdgeTX Companion to do the transition, you will have to create your first page for every model. So Vance Howard says, what is YAML? It's a markup language that's text-based, which means you'll be able to edit model configs in a text editor going forward. And the reason that's a powerful, important thing is because now you can have things like Lua scripts interact with your model configuration. So if you understand anything at all about Lua, you understand that that opens a whole world of possibilities in terms of how we might tune our model configurations or interact with, say, a gyro for trim. Who knows? There's a whole world of possibilities open up now that we've opened up the model configurations to be plain text. Now you can have applications that run, say, in Lua interact with your model configuration. So very cool. And you might be able to edit it on a desktop editor. Who knows? Who knows where that's going to go? But they're doing it because it removes the proprietary nature of the binary format, which they use today. So YAML, not there yet. All right, let's get back onto the topic of using Companion versus manual. If you use Companion to transfer, understand that you can use EdgeTX Companion to read from OpenTX. It will read from an OpenTX radio, and it can read and write to an EdgeTX radio. It might be able to write to an OpenTX radio, but I haven't tried that because honestly, I feel like based on just my gut instincts that if you do, you might wind up with some corruption. So I wouldn't use it to write to OpenTX, but you can read and write to EdgeTX, no problem there. Easy and foolproof. If you understand how Companion works, it'll be very natural to most of you, very easy and foolproof to use. Pages and widgets, as I said, do not transfer, and you will get a blank screen on model select. I will show you what that looks like. On manual copy, the initial page does transfer. So I think what happens is, I think when you do a manual copy, there's some kind of conversion process they baked into the firmware, I believe. I don't know, but what happens is when you do the manual copy, you do get the first page, although it's blank. It's wiped clean of widgets. Page 2+ do not transfer. I did confirm that. And of course, the widgets do not transfer. So we kind of covered that. The last thing I want to let you guys know about, this is for the cowboys, all right? This is not for the people who don't understand or care about understanding programming stuff. But if you want to roll your own, I can tell you that I did compile my own companion and it works just fine. There's a link in the description and here on the page that will show you where to go for full step-by-step instructions if you want to install the build environment. That's the MSys2 build environment. When you do that, it is a self-contained developer environment with step-by-step instructions. Super easy to install. It's free. You can customize your stuff. You might be able to put in your own logos, move stuff around, add or delete buttons. There's all kinds of different things you can tool around with if you want. The thing to understand, if you decide to roll your own, meaning you don't want to use, if you want to play with this, you better cowboy up, because you mostly need to know what you're doing. You can't go into the developer environment and go, oh, what is MSys2? It's not appropriate to ask. If you don't know, then don't do it. And I'm not trying to get, pushy about that, but let the developers do their thing. If you don't know this, go learn on your own elsewhere, teach yourself, and that's great. But it's going into the Edge developer forum and saying, what is MSys2? How does it work? That's not fair to them, right? They have a job to do. They're not signing up to train people how to develop. That's the point. So, and that's not coming from them. That's coming from me. I would just ask you guys that if you want to do this stuff, that's great. Do it, because that's the nature of open source. But try not to get under their skin about questions in the developer environment. You have to cowboy up and learn how to do this stuff, okay, if you want to do that. So there's some information. By the way, I'm not taking any questions on Roll Your Own at all. I'm not equipped to help. I don't know enough about it. I know enough to get myself through it, and that's about it. So I can't really help on the developer stuff. If you want to go down that route, you're on your own. I cannot help you, and I won't take any questions about the Roll Your Own version. You'll be on your own for that one. Okay, that's that. I want to go back to the workspace now and bring this up, and let's get into it. So you can see I've already got Companion up and running, but I'm not going to start there. I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to show you guys the link. So early on, we had the conversation about, when I tried to click on it. Notice I'm logged in. I am logged in. There's my little icon up there. So I'm going to click the link that's in the description. There you can see it downloads right there. Open Companion, or sorry, I keep saying open. That's a long time with OpenTX. EdgeTX Companion nightly. Okay, so we'll open that zip file, and then we'll just run the installer. It'll take just a second for this to unpack and execute. And there we go. Windows. Thank you, Windows, for saving me from myself. We're going to run anyway. I'm going to bring this into view so you guys can see it. I agree. Next, 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 install. And we'll get a nice install of Companion. By the way, I did roll my own and mine worked. I had one little error I had to work out, but I got it fixed and it works. So I thought it was kind of cool to compile my own. I might put my name on it somewhere just for fun. I don't know. We'll mess with it. Okay, so there we go. Next, now we can run EdgeTX Companion. So there's the logo, which you guys, for some reason, can't see. It's not showing in the video. There it is. And here's Companion. Okay. Now, since I've already done a radio configuration, when I click on the settings button, it already read my profile. I've got an eSheen TX16S, which is a Radio Master TX16. I've specified my SD card folder, my backup folder, iMode 2, AETR. So I've done Companion videos, guys. If you want to learn Companion, go watch my Companion videos. It's not my intention to show you how Companion works, just what the EdgeTX nature of it is, okay? So that's it. I did the setup. I clicked on a couple things in here, but not much. Turn the splash screen on. 10 recently used files. Simulator settings. If you want to save your screenshots, you can do that. So there's my Companion setup. Now what I want to do is I'm going to switch to the big screen just for a moment. I want to show you the big camera just for a second to kind of show you guys in terms of what's going on with my connections. I've got the church radio on the right, and I've got EdgeTX on the left. And notice I have the SD cables or USB cables plugged in already. So when you're doing work with your SD card, you want to be plugged in on the top, all right? I've got mine plugged in, and I'm going to leave them plugged in up there because for the purposes of the demo, it'll make it a lot easier to show what's going on. I'll be plugging them in and unplugging them from my USB dock over on the side. So that's why you won't see me messing with the wires up here. It's very kludgy. I can reach these a lot easier. So that's the environment I'm working in. And what I want to show you first is I want to show you on the EdgeTX radio that I've got. Notice when I click on the wheel and I go into model select, and I need to turn the brightness up a little bit so I can see. I've got 3 categories, mostly empty. There's an airplane in that one, a blank category there, and a couple of quads in this one, okay? And of course, I've backed up my SD card, so whatever I do here, I can do with impunity. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can do whatever I want. So what I'm going to do first is show you guys that this is a working configuration on Edge. I've flown these models, okay? What I want to do is take my models from my OpenTX radio and put them on my EdgeTX radio. Now, in your case, you might be using the same radio, and that's fine. Just ignore the fact that I have a second radio and treat it like it's the first, okay? So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to, just to, make it easy for you guys to understand what I'm doing, I'm going to plug in the church radio. So I'm going to plug that in first, and I'm also going to switch over to my workspace so you can see what comes up on the screen when I do that. So I'll select SD card, and when I do that, in a moment, I'll get a pop-up on the screen. You'll see my USB folders pop up on the computer here in just a moment. For some reason, this one takes a little while. There they are. There's the firmware folder, and you can see the church radio. I've got some models and stuff in here, okay? So I'm just going to close that because I don't need to be in there. I'm going to do the OpenTX transition first. So the first thing I'm going to do in Companion is I'm going to read. Now remember, I told you can read from OpenTX. Remember that? So we're going to read from OpenTX. That's what's happening right now. I'm reading all the models off of the church radio, okay? The silver one, the rose, gold, and silver. I've just read all the models off of that. And you can see in EdgeTX Companion, there are all my models. Now remember, on the EdgeTX radio right here, I only had like 5 models, right? This is my production radio. This has got all my stuff in it, okay? So now the next thing I'm going to do to avoid confusion and make sure I don't write to the wrong thing, I'm going to disconnect the church radio. I'm going to unplug it. So I don't need it. Now that I've read the models in, I can unplug it from the computer. It's no longer necessary. So now what I'll do is I'm going to go to the eSheen TX16S. I'm going to plug that one in. So I plug that in. I'm going to select SD card. So we select SD card. That'll pop up here in just a second. There we go. So now I've got my eSheen radio. And I'm just going to go, just to keep things nice and neat, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. This is from me testing, by the way. I'm just going to get rid of all those models. Those are gone. Get rid of those. And I'm going to go in here into the radio directory, and I'm going to get rid of this file called models.txt. That's gone. I'm going to delete that. Okay? So now I've cleaned up my eSheen TX16S. The only thing left to do is take my models and settings from the gold radio, the church radio, and push it to this one. So now I'm going to push it to this one. And I'll do that by hitting Write Models and Settings to Radio. Okay? So when that little blue field goes away, that means the write is done. It's now finished. All right? So we'll disconnect that from the computer, and you're going to see a blank screen. That's when I thought we had a problem. Now what I'm going to do is switch to the big camera so you guys can see how I work on this, right? When I first saw this happen, I thought, whoa, wait a minute, we got a problem. But notice that all the models from the church radio are now over here. They're all over here, okay? Now what happened is there's no first screen defined. So I thought, okay, there's no first screen. The way we add a screen is we press the telemetry button, and then we hit this little plus up at the top, and we just add a screen. And when we do that, now we've got a screen. So we can do things like hit the model button and navigate around, okay? So that's what I mean. You don't get the first screen. And of course, all the widgets are gone. So now I have to go into the first screen and say I want to turn on all my stuff. I can select widgets, maybe do the model output, and there we go. So we've got our first screen. All right, our first screen is now set up and working, and all the model information is there. So if I click on the model tab and navigate through the radio, it's all there. Everything is there. I haven't verified every last detail, but I know that curve is my curve. I know that curve is my curve. I know that curve is my curve. So it's there, right? This stuff is there. It's on the radio. And if I click on the model select option, so there's the button, I'll do model select. I can see that I've got all my categories. There are all my images. I've got all my, you got to copy the images over, but anyway, there's all my stuff, right? It's all been migrated over, but we don't have the first page, like I said, and we don't have our widgets, okay? That's what's missing. All right, next thing I'm going to do is, so that's the OpenTX conversion, right? I've done a conversion using OpenTX. Sorry, I'm really sorry about that. I did a conversion using EdgeTX Companion. I've said OpenTX Companion 1,000 times. EdgeTX Companion is a very new phrase to me as of tonight. So I've done a conversion using EdgeTX Companion from the church radio to this radio, and you guys saw everything I was talking about with the pages. Hopefully we're all good there. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this thing back in. I'm going to select SD card, and it's going to pop up on my screen. Let me go back to the workspace so you guys can see the screen here. There's my screen with my SD card for the eSheen radio. These are all the models that I just got through copying over. I'm going to delete them again. Okay, they're all gone. We're deleting those, and I will also go into the radio directory and delete models.txt. Okay, that's gone now. Now, if I unplug this, what you'll see when I go into model select is nothing. Everything's gone. All my models are gone, my categories are gone, everything's gone. Let me bring up the big camera so you can see it. Everything is gone. That's the model select screen. This is basically almost like a factory reset. Okay, all my models are gone. Now what I'm going to do, just to show you guys what a manual copy looks like, I'm going to plug in both. Okay, I'm going to go back to the workspace now, and I'm going to plug in the eSheen TX16S first. Now the SD card will pop up. So here we go. There is, and notice I have a label. That helps too. Label these things. If you don't know how to label it, you right click over here on the drive letter and click rename. And you can put a label in right there. That'll help you keep your stuff straight too. Can you guys see that? It's probably too low, isn't it? Yeah, it was too low. Right here. See, this is the drive, the G drive. All you have to do is, oh boy, this thing is going to be a pain in my neck. The drop down is coming out of view on you guys. Let's try it one more time. I'm going to right click on the drive, and you can go down here to rename. And if you rename, you can give it a name that you recognize. So this is my eSheen SD card. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is plug in the gold radio, the church radio. I'm going to plug that in, and I'll choose SD card on the church radio. And it'll take a minute. This one always takes a minute to fire off the USB. So give me just a moment. And there it is. There's the bong. Come on, computer. Come on. You can do it. It'll pop up. Trust me, it'll happen. Or not. There it is. It's slow for some reason. It takes a while to read that card. Okay, so here's my church radio SD card. All right, now what I'm going to do is the manual copy method. All right, all I'm going to do is go into models here and models here. All right, so this is models on the eSheen, and the reason it's got a model number is because I turned it on with no models installed, so it made a default. So now I'm going to go to this one and select all of these and just drag them over to the models folder on my eSheen. And then while that's going on, I'm going to go into the radio folder, and I'm going to go into the radio folder on the eSheen. So they're both in the radio folder now. And I'm going to take my models file from my church radio and drag it onto the eSheen and let it rip. Now I'm done. I can unplug both of them. They're both gone. And notice on, let me bring up the big camera. Notice on the TX16S, we don't have that same white screen. We have a normal looking screen with no widgets. Okay. Now I'm going to select the model select option. There's model select, and you can see I've got all my categories and all my models. Okay. If I select the Corsair will work. I'll get the main screen, but no widgets. That's exactly what I told you guys would happen. No widgets. All right. That's it. I'm going to go back to the Blackboard real quick, and we're going to make sure that we have covered everything. And I want to go back and just reinforce what we did, what I just got through showing you. If you do a conversion using OpenTX Edge Companion right here, it can read OpenTX. We did that with the gold radio. It can read and write EdgeTX. We did that with the eSheen TX16S. It's very easy to do. All I did was read from one, disconnect, and write to the other. That was it. Pages and widgets do not transfer. That's the white screen. I had to add a screen and the widgets, and then you get a blank screen on model select. So that blank screen will carry through on every single model that you transfer over. On the manual copy, like I showed you, the initial page transfers, we had a page 1, but no widgets, no page 2, and no widgets. That's exactly what we just showed. And remember what I said about backing up your SD card. Violators will be punished. Violators will be punished. We will get we will get Freddie on you to take care of you. All right, I've got to scroll back a little bit and see what questions. I am done. That's the material. So what I'm going to do is bring up the workspace. No, I'll bring up the big camera. Let you guys look at the radios. And while you're looking at those, I'm going to go ahead and look at the comments and see if there's anything going on in comments. But before I get there, I want to do a couple things. Number one, I'm going to encourage you guys, hit that like button for me. Help me out a little bit. It helps when you hit the like button, interact with the video. It helps with placement. And the second thing I want to do is give a big shout out to my patrons and say thanks to you guys for helping support the channel, and let you know if your budget allows, you can sign up for as little as $3 a month on patreon.com. It's rcvideoreviews.com, or sorry, it's patreon.com/rcvideoreviews. You can sign up for $3 a month. That'd be great if you could do that for me. That helps out a lot. And third thing I want to do is give all the credit to the Edge guys. They're freaking amazing that they're doing this for us and getting this software out there for us to work. I do have a couple other little things I want to show you on Companion, but the heavy lifting is done. I want to check questions. I'll wrap up with a few more notes on Companion. Okay, so let's see. Sailing as well. Why doesn't my horse touchscreen work? Freddie, I don't know. I don't know, because, well, you didn't get it, because it's not a Radio Master. That's why. Or a jumper. It's not a Radio Master or a jumper. Grant G-Man says, hello, fellow pilots. How you doing? Let's see. TMC 3D spanking a spanking. All my models are gone. Woes me. That's right. That's right. That's it. That'll teach you. That'll teach you. If you don't back up, you're the reason for the purge. 40 watching, 14 likes. Come on, guys. Yeah. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate you working the like whip for me. Thank you very much. Craig Bernard says Kia Aura from Rangoria. Okay. Nice. Very cool. Nightlies are for those adrenaline junkies. That's right. Now here's the deal. You do have mainline EdgeTX firmware that'll work just fine. So you can use that for your transmission purposes, and then you can go to you know, the nightly companion for managing your models and doing the simulator. Let's see. Freddie, I only hit the like button once. Robert, thanks for reminding me to hit it again. There you go, Freddie. I appreciate you, Freddie. It's real special of you to make sure you're hitting that like button twice. Very special indeed. Robert says 3 times a charm, Freddie. That's right. Brutus, thanks for getting me up and running with Edge the other day. It's great. Just can't figure out how to change the colors. Yeah, there's no color changes yet, Brutus. That's coming. Cosmetic stuff is deprioritized. The cosmetic stuff will come. Don't worry about that. But right now it's deprioritized. Drone Pilot says, I prefer to go full, fresh, no previous version info. Nothing wrong with that. Safe way to go. And hey, it's not a bad way to kind of clean up your stuff, because today you are smarter about EdgeTX than you were yesterday. So why not? What is YAML? We covered that. Brutus, I think the colors come with the Lua customization. The themes are out, Drew, right now. They will get to themes later. And the color customization, of course, you saw that if you watched the Pilot Jam on Friday, you saw that they're working on that color, the color themer, the changer. So that'll be coming all in due time. They're not prioritizing cosmetic stuff right now. They're prioritizing functionality. That's the deal. Brutus, Drew Graham, but isn't this already OpenTX? I went Edge straight away on my new TX16. I don't have much reference. Yeah, it is an OpenTX, but like I said, Brutus, when they did the migration, they had to do a lot of things to prepare for touch. So again, they focused on operations. Let's see. TMC 3D hit the tip jar. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm always nice and grateful when you guys hit the tip jar. Thank you very much for doing that. Very, very kind. Dragon Killer says, if you use a VAST, it will go nuts when installing EdgeTX Companion. Good to know. Sometimes Microsoft stops it too, but seems to have worked okay this time. Brandon Beans, you mean EdgeTX Flasher? Yeah, I'm going to talk about Flasher in a minute. I do want to cover that because there's some things missing from Companion, and there's a reason why. So we will cover that in just a minute. Let's see. I flashed Edge to my Jumper T12 Pro manual over the SD card and bootloader and redid my EEPROM settings, ported my models manually. Learned a lot, but wish it was simpler. Alas, it's done now. Yeah, so once you made the conversion, you're in, Brandon. So yeah, I know. It's the good news is it's like a one-time thing, right? That's the way to look at it. The T12 has neither models nor radio folders on SD, and the import fails on these radios. That's what I learned. Oh boy, that's rough. I think they're working for TX16S and other touchscreen radios as a priority. I think you're right. I think the color targets definitely get a little bit more love. TMC 3D says, I had to step away for a second. Are we firmware update working? Companion? No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm going to touch on that in a minute. Decompiler Nightly Junkie here, easy enough to roll back. Yeah. I would say, you know, for Nightlies, if you're bold and you're confident in your radio setup and you know how to navigate around, go ahead and use Nightly. But I don't think they're monkeying too much with the radio elements. The thing that concerns me about a Nightly is something like a crash. So for production flying, I'd probably stick with main lines for production flying. But there's no reason you can't flash Nightlies to fool around on the bench. And then, you know, before you fly, go stick a regular one on there. You won't lose your settings. It'll just, you may lose some functionality is all. Okay, so that looks like all the questions. Let me go back to the workspace. And I want to show you guys a couple more little things to point out, just so you're aware of them. We don't need this browser window anymore, but I do want to stretch this out and give you guys a look at a couple things you'll notice up top that are missing. One of them is, you notice this gray button at the top right up here, that's missing. That's a firmware download. Normally what happens, you click on the settings, you put your radio configuration in here and your kernel options, your build options, and there's a download button that'll normally go out to a server, do a real-time compile and pull down the firmware for you. That option is grayed out. You'll also notice on the left-hand side, there's no write backup to the radio or backup radio to file. I think those are mainly for the EEPROM or color or non-color screen touchscreens. Notice there is a write firmware option to the radio that's not pulled out. I haven't tried to do a read firmware. I could just for the heck of it. Let's try it. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to plug in the SD card and we'll try a read firmware. There's the firmware bin folder, so the SD card is up and running. I'm going to do a read. I think it's this one, read firmware, and yeah, fine, I'll just do test. We'll just do a test and see if it reads it. Yeah, it looks like it is. It is reading the firmware from the radio. I imagine if it reads it, it can probably write it. Just make sure you use the right binary. You want to use an EdgeTX binary. So you probably can flash firmware from the radio. I don't expect that's much of a problem. But do note that the firmware options are gone. And then the other thing I wanted to pop up real quick for you guys is the simulator, just to show you what that looks like. We can hit the simulate button and notice you do have a working simulator, although the screen is white. And no surprise, right? You guys know why that's white. But you do have a working simulator, so you can go in and try things out. So you got the sticks, you've got the lock functions, everything is there that we know and love about the simulator. It looks to be working okay. I haven't done any real testing, so I haven't been able to do things like verify logic, but it does look like the simulator is really just a, you know, just been configured to work with this radio. So it looks like the simulator is up and running. Let me go ahead and hide this camera for just a second. Where are you? There it is. There we go. Now that's out of the way. You can see that the simulator looks like it's up and running. So remember, white screen because I haven't set up a page. We just did the copy over and I haven't set up a page. So the simulator looks like it's working. All right, let me just check the last of the questions and we can wrap this video up. Go Nightly's DFU mode works. Yep, they did fix the DFU mode. Remember what I did on the masterclass? I prefer using the bootloader mode. So if you go into a bootloader by pulling the sticks in together, let me switch over to the big screen so you can see my hands. If you go into the bootloader mode, if you're not familiar with that, that's my preference. Turn the radio off, pull these two switches in together, and then turn the power on. That's my preferred way to flash firmware, because you can do write firmware and it simply looks in the firmware folder and it's basically fail safe. It never fails. It always works. So that's my preference for doing it. But if DFU works for you and you're comfortable with it, that's fine. I just read my firmware. It worked well. Yeah, it looks like it works. So you can back up your firmware now. I did 2.4, I think, just so I can get 500 hertz from stick to module for ELRS. Yeah, that was, Brandon, that was one of the problems with the Nightly, is they upgraded the baud rate on the serial port to something like 3 megs or something, and that caused communication issues with the Express LRS. We had to get it slowed back down to like 115,200. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it. EdgeTX Companion is here. Yahoo! Thanks to the Edge guys for getting that out. That was a big one, and now that we've got it, boy, there's no reason not to migrate to Edge at this point. I can tell you that. I would 100% support it. I will certainly be playing around with EdgeTX Companion myself, you know, just to get a feel for it and see what's going on, and you know, make sure that everything seems to be working okay. And then, of course, it'll be really neat when they migrate to YAML. That'll be a lot of fun. Very exciting stuff. And so thanks again to the Edge guys. You guys are amazing. We appreciate the work you're doing. And for those of you guys who joined and watched and hung out with me. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining the channel. Make sure you tell your friends. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know new material hits the channel. 70% of the people who watch my videos don't subscribe. Help the small guy out, man. Give me some subs. I'm working hard. All right, that's all I've got for today. Take it easy.